صوت يا يسوع في حياتي. بنتي دي بترد عليا، تعالي بقى نبدا انتي كمان. نبدا 1 2 3. صوت يا يسوع في حياتي، نفسي معك مرتاحة، فيك بلاقي نجاتي، وفي قربك الاقي راحة. صوت يا يسوع في حياتي، نفسي معك مرتاحة، فيك بلاقي نجاتي، وفي قربك الاقي راحة. انت مالك عمري، انت سيد قلبي، انت وحدك ربي، وكل حبي ليك. انت مالك عمري، انت سيد قلبي، انت وحدك ربي، وكل حبي ليك. ليك بقدم عمري، بهدي إليك أيامي، وحدك مالك أمري، وانت سر سلامي. ليك بقدم عمري، بهدي إليك أيامي، وحدك مالك أمري، وانت سر سلامي. انت مالك عمري، انت سيد قلبي، انت وحدك ربي، وكل حبي ليك. انت مالك، انت سيد قلبي، انت وحدك ربي، وكل حبي ليك. غالي يا رب عليا، وغالي عملك فيا، حبك مالي كياني، كنزي وكل ما ليا. غالي يا رب عليا، وغالي عملك فيا، حبك مالي كياني، كنزي وكل ما ليا. انت مالك عمري، انت سيد قلبي، انت وحدك ربي، وكل حبي ليك. انت مالك عمري، انت سيد قلبي، انت وحدك ربي، وكل حبي ليك.
معلش.
وريني لسه جاي تقول لك ترنمي دي. نعم. خلينا نقول ترنمي بالعصر.
Connect to wireless. Mariam, we might get it. We might.
Keep going.
Just get it.
ترنيمة كمان نقول ايه؟
You're gonna broadcast.
حبيبتي الجن مش بتاعت كده ما اظن. ربي يسوع الغالي، المرة الجاية رب يسوع الغالي، مع بعض 1 2 3. ربي يسوع الغالي مفيش زيه حبيب، معاه تهون الغربة ويهون حمل الصليب. ربي يسوع الغالي مفيش زيه حبيب، معاه تهون الغربة ويهون حمل الصليب. محلى العشرة وياه يسوع رب السماء، محلى العشرة وياه يسوع رب السماء، يبارك الحياة والعيشة حلوة معاه، يبارك الحياة والعيشة حلوة معاه. أنا عايش في حماه، أنا عايش في حماه، وبعز يا نفسي دوسي على كل المغريات، ده حبيبي حلقه حلاوة وكله مشتهيات. وبعز يا نفسي دوسي على كل المغريات، ده حبيبي حلقه حلاوة وكله مشتهيات. محلى العشرة وياه يسوع رب السماء، محلى العشرة وياه يسوع رب السماء، يبارك الحياة والعيشة حلوة معاه، يبارك الحياة والعيشة. أنا عايش في حماه، أنا عايش في حماه، وسعادة أبدية كما قال الكتاب، هنا في عيشة هنية وهناك في بيت الآب. وسعادة أبدية كما قال الكتاب، هنا في عيشة هنية وهناك في بيت الآب. محلى العشرة وياه يسوع رب السماء، محلى العشرة وياه يسوع رب السماء، يبارك الحياة والعيشة حلوة معاه، يبارك الحياة والعيشة حلوة معاه. أنا عايش في حماه، أنا عايش في حماه.
Okay. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Unlike Mariam, she's really nice. I am not so nice. So I need you all to come forward. And the reason is because I'm going to put some things on the screen that you need to scan with your phone, because we have a lot of questions that we are going to be talking and answering together. نادي, come on. تفضلوا, please. Come closer. Okay.
And then I'll mirror. 1 second. Come.
Closer. That's not enough.
A little bit more. A little more. Yeah, in the back. I see you.
Thank you. Thank you for humoring me.
So fancy. Okay, I have to mirror
Okay.
first. I have to mirror.
So let's mirror. Where's the?
Oops. I don't know how to.
That's fine. Just mirror, and then I'll take it from there.
You want this up first or the sides?
The slides.
The sides are here. Okay, the sides are here. Let's zoom in. Oh my God, this is crazy.
So tonight we are going to be talking about a sensitive topic to a lot of us Egyptians. We don't like to talk about money. We don't like to talk about finances. We feel sometimes uncomfortable having some of these conversations, and it usually goes because I'm the man of the house. I'll figure it out. I'll take care of my family. But in essence, because we are in relationships, we have a family, these are things that we have to do together. Now, and we have to do all the time together. And by the way, if you don't know me, my name is Wasim. I work at a corporation in finance. So my first kind of disclosure and disclaimer, you don't have to read it. But whatever you hear today, you can just throw it out the window, because I am not a financial planner. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a lawyer, and a lot of times just this is my advice, things that I work on with my family, and we actively manage our finances together. I will ask you some questions about how you do certain things, and you can choose to answer, you can choose not to answer. But in any case, this is based on my experience with work and with my personal life. So do with this information as you wish. Okay? And as it says here, you should consult a priest, an attorney, or other professionals. I'm not a priest. I'm not an attorney. So I am a professional. So you can take that with whatever you want. Okay. So the first thing to think about is, again, because I work in a large company, everything that we do, we end up rounding to the nearest $1 million. So it makes it, so it makes it very easy when we talk about, us common folks, that, it's okay. Round to the $1 million, everything will show up as zeros or maybe one, and then everybody's going to be happy, and we move on. But in reality, and I'm sorry that I can't project this any better. What does that mean, Mary? I could not. But in reality, what we have to keep in mind is that as a husband and a wife, as spouses, we are asked to be one, we have to be one. We're asked to be one. When we go through the crowning ceremony, we are actually one in Christ. And what that means, and I apologize that you're not going to be able to see some of my slides, but I'll explain where I'm coming from. Okay, so what we have to think about is, what is marriage, right? And what marriage is, in St. Matthew, he says, St. Matthew says, for this reason, a man should leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. One flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. And it's important about this one flesh, because what we see a lot of times is, for example, I have a habit, or I could have a habit that I like, I don't know, expensive shoes. Or my wife, which she doesn't, likes expensive bags. And a lot of times that might cause friction. It might cause friction because she doesn't know I'm going to buy these pair of shoes or this watch, and I don't know that she's going to buy a bag. And then all of a sudden, we could have spent, I don't know, make a number up, $700, $800, $900, and we don't know about it. But when we are one, we come to an agreement together about what is that number that we can be comfortable spending as a family. What are we comfortable spending without having to communicate with one another? And when if she's spending or if I'm spending, because we are one flesh, we end up we end up being happy for the other person because they're happy. That's what truly one flesh is. And that's truly what sacrifice is. Now, in Ephesians, in St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, it said, is it working there? Oh, okay, perfect. So, and St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians says, husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it as the Lord does the church. So it comes back to, if she's happy, I'm happy. If I'm happy, she's happy, and vice versa. So this is a fundamental aspect of life that we have to abide by, because that is what the Bible commands us. Now, the second bullet that I have is that we, as husband and wife, we share a bed. And if we share a bed, we must share accounts. A lot of times, again, as youth are getting married now, oh, I have my account, you have your account. I make my salary and then I put it into my account. My spouse makes her salary, she's going to put it in her account. She gets to spend her money on certain things. I get to spend my money on certain things, and then we make an agreement that, okay, Wasim is going to pay for the mortgage or the rent, she's going to pay for the utilities, blah, 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 blah. That is absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. We have to, just like we are one flesh, we are one bank account. Everything we do together. Okay? Now, one can ask, is money good or bad? Is money good or bad? In Deuteronomy, it says, you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth, that He may establish His covenant. Now, money, it's really neither good or bad. But the difference is, It's the love of money. And everybody here, I am sure, knows this verse. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from faith in their greediness, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. So money is not good. It's not bad. We need it to live. But it's the how attached am I to that money that's going to make that would create this good or bad idea. Any questions so far? I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page. Anybody disagree with me in anything I've said?
So I smiled when you said we must have a shared account, because you know that's not what happens.
Well, but fair.
So I'm waiting to see. There's a lot of baggage on our backs from what we've inherited, either whether we were brought up in Egypt or just in our society, right? And we can talk about the fears or insecurities that build into that, but there are some.
Sure. So hold that thought, please, Heba, and I promise you we will get there. Now, we talked about fundamentals of marriage. We talked about the fundamentals of money and wealth. Now, as a Christian, right, we're really only given 2 commandments. And it's a simple, you narrow it down, and the whole New Testament, the whole Bible can be summarized in 2 commandments. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Now again, I come back to, what does that mean? How do I love my neighbor as myself? Well, how did Christ love me? He died for me. So how do I love my neighbor? It's to sacrifice for my neighbor, to potentially die for my neighbor. Now, if I think about this, that, God, the Lord has given us that wealth, and we are stewards of that wealth, and we need to figure out, and we need to learn how to tend it, to grow it, to multiply it, and to share it abundantly. To share it abundantly. And we share it not by I have to give my tithe, or I have to, my friend Mary needs help, I have to help her. Right? That's not the attitude. I want to help her. I would love to help her. That is the Christian attitude. So if I'm giving, and I don't have anything here. If I don't know how much money's in my wallet. If I'm giving it to Mary because she needs help and she takes it and I'm happy, then that's what Christian living is. Okay? Now, if I take it and I say, okay, I have $40, I can only give her, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 10, and I start counting and trying to figure it out in my head, that abundant love, that abundant gifts that God will give me back, it's not going to be, it's not one for one. It's not one for one. So, I think this is where Hiba's coming from, and her question. It's a lot of us have predetermined conceptions of how we should live. Whether I grew up poor, I have some thoughts, and now God blessed me and I'm rich. Now I have a different way of thinking about the money I have. Whether, my past experiences, what happened with those experiences, I ran into problems, I lost all my money in gambling habit or drug habit or whatever it is, and now how do I think? Faith, true faith in God that, at the end of the day, I'm going to go out of this world with nothing. that will help me treat my wealth in a different way. So, depending on, I see this a lot in, at parties. As a simple example where, I grew up in Egypt until I was about 13, so it's been a while. But generally, in Egypt, it's not always convenient to have, all the food that you can think of having. That sometimes, again, depending on how you grew up, you can find, you have to wait to get to the next meal. Versus just eating whatever you want. So I like, for example, my father-in-law, he grew up poor and did not know and did not always have the readiness for, to plan ahead. So you go to an all-you-can-eat restaurant, and all of a sudden, or you go to a party, and, I gotta get this meat, and I gotta get this, and I gotta get that. And all of a sudden, my plate is so full that I can't eat it. I can't eat it. But that's I'm getting from my lack versus from abundance. And that's where, different experiences might happen. Someone might want to save their money. Someone might, someone who seeks to be secure, like Hiba was saying. You can potentially do, conservative investments. I have to pay off all my debts at the same time. A savings account. Let me think about spending this versus just going out and spending it. Everything is very calculated in how I spend. And when I look at my wallet, it's always half empty. Now imagine if that's me, and then on the other side is my wife. And I didn't know this until we got married. And by the way, we're probably the opposite. Where she spends abundantly. She takes all the risks. She is not, let's just go for the spend. Let's spend the $500. Let's spend the X amount of dollars. Spending on a whim. And now all of a sudden I am surprised. And I might be a little bit uncomfortable. I'm used to this, and she's used to that. Now, how do we manage that? Now, again, we touched on this bank account thing, but in reality, unless those things are really contemplated and we truly understand them and agree on them versus being dictated, we have to come to an agreement on this stuff. So. And we have to set our goals together as a family. We have to set short-term goals, long-term goals, and we have to agree together about how do we help our family. Maybe we are immigrants and we need to send money to Egypt. We need to be honest with what we love to spend money on. A lot of people fight about how much money to tithe. Right? Now we're going to be negotiating with God. Do I give him ashur? Tithe is ashur. I'm going to negotiate with God. Do I give him 10%, 8%, 15%? What am I going to give him? Or sometimes do I just take whatever in my pocket and I give it? Right? We have to come to an agreement and an understanding with one another on what to do. And the most important part is we have to be giving out of our need, not from our excess. That is the most important thing about giving. So if I have, so we have to give from our need. Okay? Now, that's why I want you guys to come closer. Can you take your phone and scan that for me, please? And can you go back to the other page, please? What? No, go ahead. Not that one. Actually, that is the right one. I can't see. Yes, you should be okay. So you should all have gotten a question that says something like, that's all it said? Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Is it coming out now? What's that? The QR code? Oh, yeah. Mary, can you go back to it? The question that you should see is, what? You got it, Mary? Okay. So answer the question. You weren't able to scan it. So scan it. So the question is that you should see, what is the number one issue between couples when it comes to money? Mary, you said you see it, right? You get the question? Okay. So everybody answer the question. And by the way, all of this is 100% anonymous. I won't know who's saying what. We'll give it 30 seconds for you guys to answer the question. And let's see what, can we go back, Mary, please? Sharing. Someone said sharing. How to spend the excess money. We're going to talk about that. Spending. So a lot of fighting about spending. Okay. Good. So the two top ones is, how do I share the money? And I'm assuming it's how to potentially give, and how to spend my excess money. Okay, so it's a very important question, because that's what we have to talk to each other about, and we have to talk about it all the time. Now, the second question, it should have changed on your screen. Same QR code. You don't need to change it, right? Now, the second question should be, who spends the most money in your family? Yeah. Okay? So who spends the most money in your family? Is it the husband? Is it the wife? Is it the kids? The wife? Evelyn says the wife. Not always. Not always. Are you guys seeing the question? Okay. Sorry. What about now? Okay, I don't know. Okay. So who spends the most money? Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, so the husband. Okay, maybe I should have explained that. Forget the mortgage part. Forget the bills part. So, okay. Husband and wife are generally equal, and then the kids end up sucking a lot of our money. Yeah, yes, exactly. But again, it's good, if you can, and we'll talk about it. You go home tonight, tomorrow, over the week, have that conversation with your spouse, if they're not here. We need to be having these conversations, because otherwise we are, boiling inside, because I think my wife spends a lot more than I do, and then I don't do it, and then at some point, why are you doing this? Stop! Right? When it's been boiling for, I don't know, months. But if we have the conversation early, then there is no yelling, there is no screaming, there is an understanding. Okay, let's keep going. I have one more question, then we can go back. This is an interesting one, and you guys should have gotten. So how often do you and your spouse discuss your financial situation? You guys saw it on your phones? No, Bardo? Oh, okay, then it's a user error. How often are you able to, okay, but I'm not seeing anything. Really? So nobody, you can't press enter or something, Heba?
I see number at the top with 12 or 13.
Yeah, it just highlights and then it says responding as guest number so-and-so, but it doesn't
Okay.
go through. It's like responding.
Okay. All right. I apologize. I don't know why this one's not working. But on average, we should be talking about this at least once a month, once every 2-3 months. And we need to have that honest conversation with our spouse about our financial situation. Here it is. Okay, that's great. Once a month. 70% of you guys said once a month. Excellent. I think that's a very good place to be. And for that 1 or 2 people that said never, I think I would recommend we bump that up a little bit. Yeah.
It says discuss. Let's just clarify. It's not always a discussion. Once a month happens, but how it is not always a discussion.
Okay. So Mary, can we go back to the slideshow? So, so the way I think about it and what should be discussed is, first of all, is we need to be disciplined about it. We have to go through, we talk about if anything significant has changed. If we bought a car, now we have to pay that extra amount to cover the new car cost. If my income has changed versus the history, and now we have less or more, what does that mean? We have to have a budget. Again, it's something that's very hard to do, but we need to have a budget, and it doesn't need to be exactly precise, because again, as a finance professional, what I know and what everybody, we laugh about it all the time, is that we spend 4 or 5 months making a budget, and on day one, that budget is wrong. But it's a guide. It becomes a guide on maybe I can spend more here and less here, or I can spend more this month and then less the following month. Those are the guides that we have to talk about, and at the same time, we have to make sure that those short and long-term goals they're the same, that we haven't changed them. We need to talk about large purchases. So, for example, my washing machine is about to die. It's an $800 to $1,000 ticket price that I need to spend over the next, 2-3 months. Now, how am I going to manage that? What are we going to do about it? That's part of the conversation. And then again, I would say we have to remember why we're having these conversations. We have to take our time. We have to be respectful, and we have to know that we are in this together. At the end of the day, we are together as one, and we have to figure it out together. And I think about it a lot as to, if nothing else, we need to be setting an example for our kids on how to have these conversations, on how to have any conversation as a couple, because the kids look at us and they're going to end up repeating exactly what we do. Okay? Let's go back, Mary, to the other. Please. It's the same QR code. We're just going to have a different question. You don't need the QR code anymore. So the next question it should say, have you set up a monthly budget or plan to guide your spending? Did you guys get that question? Okay, perfect. 100% is of course. Of course not, okay? Okay, so we are settling at about almost 50-50, yes and no. I recommend it's something that we should at least do. Again, is it going to have to be precise? No. But will it help? Absolutely. And it will help because, again, there's a lot of surprises that come out. You know, that if we don't look at what we're spending on a daily basis, or at least on a frequent basis, we don't know where the money's going. We think we know, but a lot of times, you know, for example, for me, you know, because I kept an eye on it, I realized that I'm spending, you know, something close to like $300 on fast food because I'm eating at work. $300 is a lot of money for a month when I could have just made lunch at home and brought it with me. Now that I do that a lot, I've cut down from 300 to 100, and now there's $200 extra that I could do something else with. So again, it doesn't need, they don't need to be precise, the budgets, but they need to give you guidance. Can we flip back, Mary, please? And again, there are a lot of tools out there that can help with this. Like, for example, this is mine. And, you know, the tool that I use, and I'll share with you one of the tools, is that says whatever you budgeted, you've spent 98% of it this past month. And because it's a fixed budget every month, I can see that I'm either overspending or underspending sequentially, and then it helps figure out what I should do with that extra money. Or if I'm overspending, then it will highlight, hey, you're overspending on these categories. Why don't you recommend that you can underspend somewhere else? The tool that I use is called Mint. And again, use it, don't use it, do with it whatever you want. It's a tool that will collect all of your different accounts, your credit card, your bank account, if you have a 401k, if you don't, and your mortgage, puts all of that together. It will help you create a budget. It will help you to see if you're on track or you're not on track. And it could depending on for example, different credit cards that you have. It will tell you, hey, get rid of this credit card. You can add this credit card, depending on your different situation. But that's something that I use. I track it about once a month. We do have a conversation about the spend once a month, sometimes once every other month. But it helps. It definitely helps. All right, let's go back. Okay, next question. In your household, do you divide the financial responsibilities? So one person takes care of everything, or one person does the bills, another person does the long-term investments. Everything is being done as a couple. So where, again, just kind of estimate where you guys are. So nobody in particular takes care of the finances of the house. Okay. So it's either one person is taking care of everything, or we are splitting the difference between normal monthly bills and long-term investments. I'd love to talk to you because I don't know how that works. In my family, only one person does everything. But I think it's interesting. If it works, it works, right? If it works for you, it works for you. It's fine. Again, that person who said nobody in particular, again, I recommend you think through a little bit. So how do you manage your money? Okay, let's keep going. I have another question. If you received a $2,000 bonus tomorrow, what are you going to do? You going to go to the mall and spend it? You're going to pay down a debt? You're going to save it? Or save and spend equally? Go grocery shopping? That's my wife, yeah. Okay, so we have save and spend equally. We can and others that say pay it, put it in a savings account, or pay down. We're very equally split here on some of it. Either pay down a debt, put it in your savings account. I think any of these is great. What you have to keep in mind is, for example, and I know that this is not common right now, but if my debt is in my mortgage is at 3% interest, but I can save that money at a 5% interest, then something again to think about before you make that decision. I think I have one more question. And we'll go with this one. Have you ever tried to hide or disguise a purchase from your spouse? So I'm going to buy something, and I'm going to say, that was for, the yeah? Oh, yeah. That was for a bill that was that we needed to do. And I'm loving the fact that no, never, maybe once or twice. Again, it helps to understand and talk about this stuff as a family. Because it is important to be honest, right? If once or twice means I've lied to my spouse once or twice. And that has ramifications. Okay? But at least half, if not more, have said never, which is great. And then the last question before we go back to the slides, what are you guys generally comfortable spending on a single purchase without telling your spouse? How much money are you comfortable spending without telling your spouse? So my wife and I have said it's $200. What did you say? 1,000. So my wife and I have said it's $200. And again, unless it's food, Mary knows with food it's all out the window. But again, it will eliminate a lot of harder conversations later if we agree to that number, or again, around that number. Whether it's 200, 205, doesn't really matter. But again, for my family, we said it's $200. Okay, let's go back. Let's talk about credit cards, because sometimes they are a big problem. They're a very big problem. Okay, got it. So a lot of us hear that, hey, cash is king. Do everything with cash. A lot of people walking around with a wallet that's this thick in their back, that it hurts their back when they're sitting. But again, in my opinion, it's easily lost, easily stolen, and if I lose it, I can't replace it. And I don't know how much money I'm spending. With cash, it's a lot easier to just spend the money, and you don't have a recollection of what you spent it on. And depending on your credit card situation, for example, I have a credit card that gives me 2 or 3% back cash on everything I use. So in my family, we do nothing in cash. I refuse to give my kids cash. Everything is on a card. And it's one card. Now, one can say, oh, well, the dilemma of is it one credit card or multiple credit cards? Again, it's something that is up for your thinking, but in my opinion, the more the credit cards, the easier to potentially get into a problem, because you could forget to pay one of those bills. It's harder to track what we're spending the money on, and there's a risk of overspending. Now, the couple of things that we have to always remember: we have to pay off our credit cards all at once every month. Don't ever be late on paying a credit card. Why? Because it creates a problem on your credit score, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So even if you're late one day, call them. Call your credit card company saying, hey, something happened and the check is in the payment's in the mail. Is there anything you can do to reverse the late fee? Or even sometimes you have a grace period, Yanedi, but that grace period, it flags it as late. And that creates a problem on your credit score. And if your credit card bill is too high that you can't pay it off all at once, then you're spending too much money. So use the company for your leverage, not the other way around. The credit card companies don't want you to pay it in time because they want to charge you the interest rate on it. So as an example, I'm going to skip that one. As an example, yes? التلت hold 1 second. 1 second. Here's a perfect example, right? I have a credit card, and I spent $1,000 in purchases. And by the way, that credit card has an interest rate. All credit cards have interest rates, right? 21, at least 21, sometimes 24, 25, 27%. So, Eveline, what the credit card company will do is it will say your minimum payment is X. Okay? In this example, if I pay the minimum payment only every month, whatever it is, it's 2%. This one is 2%. If I pay that minimum payment, I paid $1,000, I bought something for $1,000, it will take me 10 years to pay it back. And I will have spent $2,300 to pay it back because of all of the interests. So we should always, always, always pay as much as possible, if not everything, at the end of every month. So don't get fooled by this minimum payment, or pay as much as you can, or whatever.
So if it's zero APR for 1 year or year,
If that's the case, so if that's the case, perfect. But you have to remember, if you miss one payment, then they're going to ding you on the whole amount. So if you can manage through that, sure. But again, it's hard to remember, right? It's hard to remember, and when did the year start? And when does it end? And I can guarantee you that most people, by the end of it, will have forgotten when that year is, and you're going to end up paying more, something more at the end.
They're asking if they think building credit is better if you don't pay the full amount.
What's that?
That credit building is better, or your credit is improved if you don't pay the full.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So your credit is always dependent, a lot of it is dependent on the ratio. For example, a credit card is going to give you that you can purchase as much as $5,000. Okay? That how much you owe the company the less you owe, the better your that ratio. So, for example, if it's $5,000 and I owe 1,000, then it's 20%. You know, if it's 20%, okay, my credit is this. If it's 5%, my credit is this. If it's 0%, my credit is down here. If it's 40%, my credit is worse. So the more you owe, the worse your credit is.
It's a ratio.
Yeah, it's the ratio. That's right. That's right. So I'm going to ask you guys one more question, and Mary, if we can just go to it. So the question is, a credit score of 675. Is that good, excellent, good, fair, or bad?
Sometimes people get confused between debit card and a credit card.
Okay. So 50% of the people say it's good, 25 say fair, 25 say it's bad. In reality, Mary, can we go back? The scale, and again, I promise I'm going to be done in 2 minutes. The scale is right here at the bottom. So 675, it's fair to maybe good. Okay, it's on that cusp. You know, and then this is the distribution of how most Americans are. Ideally, you want to be anywhere between 740 and above. And why do I say that? It's because the better your score, the better interest rates you get if you apply for a mortgage, if you apply for a car loan, if you apply for any school loan. All of those are going to get impacted by your credit score. So you want to have an excellent or good credit score to be able to get good loans. Now, not all loans are bad. Not all debt is bad. Everybody, I assume everybody has either a mortgage or they have to pay rent every month, right? So those are things that we're not going to avoid. You know, we have a car. Some of us have to pay off a car versus not. So we have to keep in mind what our credit score is. I look at my credit score and my wife's credit score every month. These are the 3 credit bureaus that track your score. If something looks wrong, call them. You're entitled to a free report. So I think it's once a year or something like that. So call the credit bureau, find out why your credit is bad, and fix it. You know, it could be that your credit card was stolen and someone spent money on your credit card. Again, going back to credit cards, that's a very good thing because you don't have to pay that off. The credit card will fight on your behalf, and you're not liable for those payments. I'm going to stop here. The only other thing I wanted to just do very quickly is to think about, you know, if we have a mortgage or if we have a car payment or something. In this example, it's a mortgage, right? And I'm making it simple. It's a $300,000 mortgage, and it's for 30 years, 4.5%. Today, there is no 4.5%, unfortunately. It's anywhere between 7 to 8, maybe 8.5. But if I just take that mortgage, what I'm required to pay is $1,500 every month for 30 years. When I pay that $1,500, by the time I'm done with the mortgage, look at how much interest I would have paid. $250,000 worth of interest. So almost the same amount as your loan. Okay? Now, if I only pay $100 extra a month or $200,000 extra a month, you end up seeing how much money you're saving over that course of the loan. First, if you pay $100 a month, you're going to cut your years from 30 to 26.5. If you pay $200, you're going to cut it to 24 years. So you'll be done, you'll own the house 6 years faster. And you will have saved almost $60,000. So if you're able to, pay a little bit extra. And another way of doing it is that $1,500 that's required, if you pay every 2 weeks, right, $750. That's the same, almost the same as the $1,500. But it's that you end up paying an extra payment once a year because of it's 26 weeks versus 12 months. So you end up paying an extra payment. Therefore, that will speed up how quickly you'll pay off the house. I'm going to stop here. It's 3 minutes before. Any questions? And I don't think I have much more to go. The other thing to think about is we have to stop thinking about, oh, Hiba has this, I want it too. Our eyes always want more. How should we be satisfied with what we have and what we have versus what we don't have? And then one last thing is, if you don't have a will, make a will. I know a lot of us are young, but in this country, wills are so important. And I'm sorry to be morbid, but make a will. What's a will in Arabic? Wasiyya. Wasiyya? No. Okay, wasiyya. Sure. I'm not a lawyer. Don't come asking me about what a will should be, but very minimal things. Who's going to take care of your kids if you die? What do you want to do? Now, again, my kids are 17 and 14. I don't want them to have my money when I die because they're stupid. They're 17 and 14. So I want to give my money to someone who's going to take care of it until they're old enough. So those are the questions that the attorney can help you with. Okay, I'm not an attorney, so I can tell you what's in mind, but I can't give you advice. I will stop. I'm around if you have any questions, but I know the kids are going to be coming up, so I apologize for taking a bit too long. I want my wallet back, Mary. Yes, thank you. Questions? You're good? Okay. And again, depends on what you want to do with it. To me, if I die today, all I want is to finish paying
Do you want to put 2 chairs
my
here?
mortgage and to put my kids through college. I don't have anything. So those are the questions that you have to ask.
All right, we're going to do the raffle really quickly. Thank you, Asim. This was very, very helpful. I think, if anything, we all need to go back and talk to our partners. أنا عارفة إن إحنا في نيتنا نتكلم ونقسم ونعمل، بس ساعات ما بيكونش فيه الوقت، فيمكن دي حاجة حلوة إن إحنا كلنا نتشجع نفتح الموضوع بطريقة مبسطة. الحاجة التانية شخصيا فرقت معايا قوي من كلام وسيم، بالذات أول كام سلايد، هي فكرة إن إحنا واحد في المسيح، ومش لازم نبص على الآخر على إن عنده معلومات أو أنا بفهم أكتر في الفلوس أو كده. فيعني دي حاجة برضو مهمة. Right, we have the raffle.
All right, and the winner is 9524737. 737. Who's the winner? 737. You should have memorized your number before you put it in your pocket. Or your wife took it to win the prize. How many do we have? 3? Okay. So we've got 737, we've got 735. 737, Mira 735. What do you want it to be? Hold on, let me look. 723, I'm sorry. 723. So we've got 737 is the only one missing, right? Choose another number. Are you sure? 737? 727. All right, Mariam. All right, excellent.
عايزين يعني نعيد ونبارك ونشكر احلى واجمل خادمه اللي بسببها كلنا هنا والاجتماع قائم، حبيبه القديسه رفقه ايفلين، عيد ميلادها كان الاسبوع ده، ونغني لها سنه حلوه مع يسوع. فايفلين تعالي نورينا زي ما انت دايما منورانا، الخير والبركه، ربنا يفرح قلبك زي ما بتفرحي قلبنا كلنا، صدقيني كلنا هنا بسببك بأمانة. يلا. To you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to Evelyn, happy birthday to you, سنة حلوة مع يسوع، سنة حلوة مع يسوع، سنة حلوة سنة حلوة سنة حلوة مع يسوع. كل سنة وانت طيبة وفرحانة ومتهنية. عمر طويل ليكي حبيبتي.
الجامده دي بصراحه يعني مش عارفه اقول ايه. الواحد عايش بمحبتكم، عايزه اقول كده عايشين بمحبتكم.
صورتي جنب اكتر من كده لسه بقى. تعالوا انتوا تصوروا جنبها. لا هي تتصور. هناخد كام صورة بقى؟ تعالوا بقى ناخد صورة مع ايفلين، كله يطلع ناخد صورة.